Voters in the US, predominantly those on the conservative side of the political spectrum, are less likely to vote for queer candidates based on their identities due to the stereotypes surrounding them. This gatekeeping of power is not only seen in politics, but in representation in the media as well. LGBTQ+ representation not only shows queer people that they belong, but doubles as a movement towards social acceptance. Unfortunately, we often see representation highly politicized, sparking discourse across the nation. Further complicating the issue is that queer people have too been guilty of making representation out to be something it is not. It is no secret that being a part of the LGBTQ+ community comes with complications. Being outed or having an outside party reveal one's sexual orientation without their consent is perhaps the most damaging. It is a method of instrumentalizing homophobia against queer people by taking advantage of social intolerance, which can result in the uprooting of one's social life, cause anxiety, attract bullying, and in extreme cases lead to family issues and disownment. In an ironic twist, multiple infamous instances of members of the LGBTQ+ community pressuring others, the most well-known of which involving actors and singers, to come out on the internet through queerbaiting accusations has become a new way to out people, with extra social factors further complicating it. I find it necessary to first define queerbaiting. Queerbaiting, a method of gaining exposure seen in various industries such as film, music, etc., take advantage of the lack of queer representation in the media to increase viewership. It can look like teasing queer themes in, for example, a television series. A show will advertise potential for a queer storyline to gain LGBTQ+ people's attention. And it works! I'm not too proud to admit that when I hear a show has lesbians, I am like a gay little moth attracted to light. However, the same queer or hinted queer characters that draw in views tend not to play an important role in their respective stories. From a 2019 poll of 300 different television series, just 6.7% of their 10 most prominent characters were queer. That means that of these shows' entire casts combined, a very small percentage of queer characters aren't just side characters, killed off, or merely implied, like they are in The Walking Dead, Supernatural, Sherlock, Supergirl. The list goes on. In doing so, these shows have risked nothing, making no effort to bring genuine representation on screen while gaining exposure due to the controversial subject matter. In response, many queer people speak out against the fake allyship online. However, Emma Norden, an author, points out that the definition of queerbaiting is not entirely agreed upon and is a term that has just recently begun to be explored. Therefore, it is hard to determine what qualifies as queerbaiting. She suggests that accusations are based on each individual accuser's personal experience with queerness and homophobia. In other words, what one person views as queerbaiting may not be seen as such by another. Norden criticizes the term altogether due to the instability of its definition. That, and the way the internet uses the word as justification to harass celebrities and other people online, often basing queerbaiting claims not on information, but a lack thereof. Allow me to introduce the case of Kit Connor, a British actor who rose to fame from his role as Nick Nelson from Alice Osman's Heartstopper. Heartstopper originally began as a webcomic that was adapted into a television series for Netflix and was released in 2021. Due to the comic already having a large fan base, its first season was very successful. However, its success brought with it discourse. Because Connor's sexual orientation was not public when the show first came out, Heartstopper fans assumed he was a heterosexual playing a queer character, a scenario that many view as queerbaiting. As a result, he went under fire on social media, bombarded with accusations of queerbaiting, as well as attracting harassment. Then on October 31st, 2022, a fed-up Connor would go to Twitter to address the claims. Osman, a part of the LGBTQ+ community herself, believes that Connor was forced to out himself, even if he made the decision to come out in response to the accusations. I agree completely with this. Peer pressure is an intense force, especially on teenagers, and I cannot imagine how much more intense it is to be a young actor being scrutinized online. If he stayed quiet, members of his own community would continue to believe that he is homophobic. He might have made the tweet himself, but did he truly have a fair choice in the matter? Connor isn't alone. Billie Eilish, Katy Perry, Harry Styles, and Cardi B are just a few other examples of celebrities who have been accused of queerbaiting online, all of which who have come out later in their career or wish to stay unlabeled publicly. On one hand, holding people in positions of power accountable for potential queerbaiting could be considered a form of activism, as it is speaking out against inequality that attempts to mask itself as progress. Take J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter series. a heterosexual with a long history of disrespecting the LGBTQ+ community, especially transgender women. Perhaps her most notorious moment in the media was when she decided that Dumbledore is gay, which sparked intense discourse online. This was years after the series was concluded, and there had been no queer storyline or even hints about the character's sexuality. Niamh Mahoney, a queer author, criticizes Rowling being praised for representation. LGBTQ+ content is censored and even banned in some countries. Meanwhile, Harry Potter has sold over 600 million copies worldwide and is published in 85 languages. Mahoney suggests that had Dumbledore been explicitly gay in the books, it is highly unlikely that the series would have attained such popularity, especially considering the fact that the first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, was published in 1997, a time where advocating for LGBTQ+ rights was non-profitable. Based on all of the facts provided, I believe that labeling Rowling's actions as queerbaiting is appropriate. This claim is backed not solely on first impressions, but on her history and facts. This is an example that shows it is possible to make a valid claim that is worthy of being spoken on. However, to make exceptions for certain situations means that queerbaiting accusations will still be made, and because there's no solid definition of the word, there will continue to be situations in which they are targeted inappropriately, like they were to Kit Connor. Mahoney's criticism of Rowling is based on evidence as well as confirmable facts about her, but one look at Twitter is proof that not everybody will be as analytical. This is not to say that queerbaiting shouldn't be confronted, but the way we handle it needs to change. Because of what happened to Kit Connor and many other celebrities, I believe that before making an assumption about a potential queerbaiting situation, it is important to first remember that the term queerbaiting is imperfectly defined and is just beginning to be researched academically, meaning that there are no solid guidelines to determining what qualifies as such. For starters, just because there is no information on a person's sexual orientation does not automatically mean that they are heterosexual. Secondly, we must recognize that queerbaiting claims are based on ever-changing social norms, as well as stereotypes. For example, two male friends saying "I love you" to one another can have various interpretations because it is not normalized for men to be affectionate with their friends as it is for women. Ben Kasoy, a journalist, puts it perfectly. I personally believe that some situations that have been interpreted as queerbaiting may have instead been an effort to correct other social issues surrounding the gender norms. Labeling these situations as homophobic is backwards, because even if heterosexuals do not personally experience direct homophobia, homophobia is still affecting them, because many people do not want to be perceived as queer. But why would that be such a bad thing? If people did not possess negative connotations with queerness, perhaps men wouldn't feel so insecure about being affectionate with their same-sex friends, or people wouldn't be ashamed to explore their sexuality in the first place. Maybe there would be no such thing as queerbaiting or queerbaiting accusations, because it would destroy a handful of negative social norms and on-screen relationships could be seen for what they are, not for what they might become. Overall, I feel making queerbaiting accusations is harmful due to its unspoken implications about those they are targeted at. How could it be considered activism when it has pushed people to out themselves, accomplishing the exact opposite of what the fight for equality strives to do? If progress is to be made, we cannot sabotage it by making assumptions about each other. Instead, we must be smart and consider the facts, otherwise it is redundant if we are wasting our time getting riled up over a misinterpreted situation, diverting attention from more pressing issues.